want some kind of taper, I think. Now you will see pianos where there is not a taper, but my belief is that hammers ought to be tapered. Now, before I came up with the means of doing this, I actually did hammer tapering on. I have a little 1-inch belt sander, which is over here. Now this is another really nice tool. This one's getting on in years, and it's got some issues. But I would stand here and I would just by hand to by eye, I'd kind of grind off the felt and the wood. And the problem was they were all a little different. It's the fully handcrafted hammer tapering. Not like some darn machine, there was real hand craftsmanship there. But the weight from hammer to hammer is going to be a little different. I also was never happy with it gets a lot of the felt gets stained from the underfelt and the wood, and they always look a little scuzzy, and you can clean them off with compressed air, but I never liked that. So there was actually an article in the PTG journal that some Canadian fellow showed a table saw tapering jig, and so I thought, wow, that sounds great. I'd like to. And so I built one. And I was really happy with it. Now, there are some tapering jigs that you can buy commercially, like Bill Spurlock sells one that'll go through it. I think a table saw. Right. But the thing about any of them I've seen is you cannot have the shank glued on. Right. And now it's not necessary to have the shank glued on, but just the system that I use. Since I'm gluing them up square, and then I'm doing this 4 cuts on the bandsaw, and then I'll come over and do my tapering. I like, it's nice to have the capability of doing that. And then, again, if I have a piano that I'm reconditioning or something where it's got some either original hammers or has been rebuilt and rehammered by another technician who did not take these steps, and you have a big, heavy, blocky hammer, it's a pretty straightforward thing to come in here and do this on the table saw. So basically, every table saw has some manner of grooves to it for different fences and miter gauges and things. And so this is just a very simple plywood thing that sits here and slides front and back. There's a little side-to-side play, but not a lot, not enough to really be too much of an issue. If you haven't used table saws, well, you need to learn a little bit about them. This is a more dangerous tool than the bandsaws because I used to have this scar, maybe I still do, when I worked for Otto Hoffman in my early years, and I was cutting some little short block, and kickback is an issue that table saws have, and maybe some of you have experienced that firsthand, but you wouldn't believe how powerful that is. And you try to cut some weird little small piece of squarish wood, and it binds in there, and it will shoot that wood at great velocity, like, or through your flesh, or whatever. So kickback is, you never want to cut little bitty stuff on a table saw. It's, you cut a long board, well, that's fine, even though you still have to be careful. But I really am very, you should always be pretty scared of something like a table saw. But I am cutting a little bitty thing with this deal, but I have this jig that makes it pretty reasonable for me to do. Now, the way I would decide how much taper is, well, again, this is where the judgment part comes in and what you actually want to accomplish. I have here just a scrap hammer. If you replace hammers, very often you end up with some leftovers. You always got a few leftovers in each set, and so so the way this thing works, there's a kind of a spring here, and I do this and I put the hammer in here, and the spring is holding that thing in there pretty well. The amount of taper is kind of a matter of eye. Now I have a pencil line for one side. I'm going to not try to taper all the way. I'm going to start the taper back just a little bit here. Again, this is going to be a little loud, but it's not too bad. But I'm going to turn it on now. So that's about what I'm used to seeing. This shows you about how much of I'm taking off. So maybe a 1/16 of an inch at the tip, going from 0 probably up about here.
But you start up here.
Yeah. Now you could start right here, or you could start And one thing you can do is, which I should have done, is make some pencil lines, and you can kind of see where the pencil lines are starting and stopping. But
What blade are you running?
oh, it's a combination.
Freud?
Yeah,
It's
I think it is.
Not a smooth cutoff, just a regular combo.
Yeah, I think it's because I'll riff with this one. But kind of any blade really that'll give you a clean cut. So I'm pretty happy with that amount of taper. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish tapering this one, but just so y'all can kind of see that. So, okay, so one side of this hammer is now tapered, but not both sides. So, the downside of this jig is it only does one side at a time. So, I've got a mirror image, one of these that after I taper one side. Okay, so we got this handful here that we've prepared on here. Now, okay, these are base hammers. Okay, well they're angling the other way. So when I cut the other side, I'm going to have to get the height of the blade adjusted so I don't nick the hammer shank. Right. And the good rule of thumb with a table saw is never have more of the blade sticking up than you really need. Let's see, let me get a pencil.